So let's start today in a seated position on your mat. You can be cross-legged or you can be sitting on your ankles if that's more comfortable. And let's just start right away with checking into your posture and just feeling a slight tuck in your lower back, so you feel, or in your tailbone, so you feel some length in your lower back, and feeling some broadness across the collarbones, heaviness in the shoulders, length in the back of your neck. And take a big inhale, filling yourself up, and exhale to sigh it out. Maybe a few more breaths just like that. Taking big intentional inhales and really picturing that breath filling you up to every corner and edge of you. And when you're ready, exhaling, letting it go, pushing all that air out of you. And then when you feel ready, you can release this control over your breath and become the observer of the breath. And just allow your inhales and exhales to come naturally as you allow your forehead to broaden, as you release these muscles in the eyebrows and the eyelids, softening the jaw, releasing the tongue from the roof of the mouth. And you can just start to slowly let your right ear fall toward the right shoulder. And just hang out here for 1 or 2 breaths, and then gradually let your chin be drawn toward your sternum. Slowly moving, letting it hang out here a few breaths. And then letting your left ear be drawn toward the left shoulder. Few breaths, and just back down. So chin to sternum, right ear to right shoulder. And you can just keep moving like this with your breath. You can speed up this movement slightly if you'd like. You can slow it down even more if you'd like. But just being super gentle with the neck as we start to warm up with these half circles. And doing your best to really keep your spine straight and steady while you do this. So the movement is really isolated to just the neck. And you'll feel the stretch a little deeper if you do that. And if you'd like to, you can take some fuller circles if that feels okay on the neck, lifting your chin. I kind of picture it like drawing a circle with your chin, from like a rainbow from your shoulder to each shoulder. So I think that feels the best for my neck, so it doesn't feel like you're like dumping your head back. But if you lift your head back and you feel pressure in your neck, then just stick with the half circles. It doesn't feel good. And you can switch directions when you're ready to. And just feeling free to fully explore this movement. Yeah, if you want to bring your chin over your right shoulder and over your left shoulder, that can be really nice. And just letting yourself listen to the movements that your neck is calling for right now. If you find a spot that feels like really good, or like it's hitting something that needs to be worked on, then staying there a little longer, breathing into that space. For about 3 more breaths, just moving your neck how it feels good. Making sure to relax the face as you do so. Awesome. And then you can gradually let your head come back to center and just switch the crossing of your legs so the opposite ankle's in front. Then we're just going to start to bring your hands to your shoulders, and we're going to take some big circles with the elbows now. So you can actually start small circles if that feels good. If your shoulders are feeling extra tight today, and gradually get bigger. You can start right away with the big circles if that feels good. And it doesn't matter if you're going forward or backwards, because we're going to go both directions. But again, just doing your best to isolate the movement here. So there might be a tendency to bring your back into it and kind of do like a cow spine with it. And we'll get into that. But for now, just try to isolate it to just the shoulders so that you're really feeling the ball and socket joint in the shoulders. And you can switch directions if you haven't already. Letting your breath be active here as well, not forgetting about the breath. And again, you can kind of freestyle it too. It doesn't have to be just circles. If you're feeling some other movements being called, you can do that too. Maybe twisting, maybe bringing one elbow forward, one elbow back. If you want to release the hands from the shoulders and do some other movements, maybe adding some wrist circles. You just let yourself bring all this intuitive movement into your arms now. Shoulders, arms, maybe giving yourself a hug. That can feel really nice to stack your elbows on top of each other and bring them up, bring them down, bring them around. So about 3 more breaths. Awesome. And now when you're ready, you can let your hands come in front of the ankles and roll over the ankles, or you can just kick them back behind you if that feels more comfortable. And we'll just make our way to a tabletop. So meeting with the shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. And when you look back between the thighs, the toes are hidden behind the thighs. So they stay in line. And spread your fingers so wide that you feel the skin in between the fingers stretching. And the wrist creases are parallel to the front edge of your mat. And when you're ready, you can start to move into your cat-cows or any sort of free movement that you want to take. If you want to go right into like the wagging the tail or rolling out the spine, doing some circles with the shoulders and hips, you can do that. If you want to come right into the cat-cows, you can do that as well. But just letting this be your practice today and letting this warm up set the tone for that. That this practice is yours and you are to listen to your body at all times. Even if I suggest a posture that doesn't feel good in your body at any point, then your body is the true teacher today. So let that be your guide. If something doesn't feel right, if something feels painful at any point, then ease off and come to a place where it doesn't feel painful. About 3 more breaths, just moving the spine, how it feels. Good. And if at any point when you're on our knees, if you start to feel some pain or pressure in the knees, you can try just putting more pressure in the tops of your feet or even tuck the toes under and keep more pressure there. It can be helpful. Or you could always bring a blanket or something underneath the knees. If you want to twist the spine at all, you can bend one elbow and look over the opposite shoulder. That feels really good. Just a few more breaths. Awesome. So whenever you are ready, no rush at all. If you want to keep with the movements that feel good for you, feel free to do so. But when you're ready, we'll meet back in a steady tabletop and just walk your hands forward, leave your hips exactly where they are, and melt your heart down towards the mat. Coming into our puppy pose. And just really letting the energy reach up through the space in between your sit bones. Letting your forearms and hands be intentionally pressing down toward the mat. And really feeling your lower belly pull in and up toward the spine. Again, you can always try to place more pressure in the tops of the feet. And that activates the legs a bit more. And just breathing so deeply using your Ujjayi breath. 3 more rounds of exhales. Great. And then when you're ready, you can leave your forearms pressing down and just start to tuck your tailbone down toward the mat and start to snake your body through and forward. We're going to land in our Sphinx pose. So letting your pubic bone be drawn toward the mat. Awesome. And maybe inching the elbows forward a few inches just so they're slightly in front. From a side view, they're slightly in front of the shoulders. So you want the bottom of your rib cage to be on the mat. And your neck stays long, so your chin is kind of tucking down toward the chest. Press into the mat with your big toes and let your inner thighs be magnetically drawn toward each other. And when you press down into the big toes or tops of the feet, maybe your knees slightly lift off the mat. Press down with your pubic bone so that your lower back relieves some pressure, and feel like your heart is coming through your upper arms. Very active pose. Remember to breathe. One more exhale. And now release down to the mat. You can make a pillow with your hands for your forehead. Bend your knees up toward your bum and just windshield wiper the legs back and forth to massage your belly a bit. Release your lower back. Release the hips. Big exhales. And then when you're ready, you can bring the legs back to center, extend them long on the mat. Bring the hands right underneath the shoulders and point the elbows up toward the ceiling, keeping the elbows really tight toward the ribs. Tuck your toes under, and you can push yourself up through a tabletop or up to a plank if you'd like, and we'll just lift the hips back and up to your downward facing dog. Big exhales here. Maybe taking a lion's breath. If you'd like, sticking out your tongue, looking up toward the forehead as you exhale. Just letting it go, maybe fluttering the lips. Feeling free to move a bit while you're here. Maybe walk out your dog, take turns bending each knee. You can take turns looking under each armpit. That can feel really nice. And just letting your heart reach toward your thighs. Letting your lower belly pull in and up toward the lower back. Letting the energy reach up through the space between the sit bones. And letting this mostly be a spinal stretch. Feeling the space from your fingertips through the strong arms, through the shoulders, all the way through the spine and the tailbone. Breathing. Letting your armpits feel like they could face each other. Letting go. Great. And then when you're ready, bend the knees, look up, and just start to tiptoe your feet up to meet your hands, bit by bit. Land in a halfway lift when you arrive. So inhale to straighten your spine like a tabletop, and exhale to fold. So bending your knees really generously, letting this be a back stretch more than a hamstring stretch. You can let your head dangle, yes and no. You can let your arms dangle. You can hug the legs, grab opposite elbows, whatever feels best for you. But just spreading the toes really wide, let your feet be really intentionally placed while you're here. These are your foundation. So maybe even lifting the toes for a moment to really feel the four corners of the feet, and then let the toes just be that extra support. Let your weight shift slightly more toward the balls of the feet. Remembering to breathe, release your stomach, soften the stomach, find a moment of stillness. Awesome. And then really, really slowly, when you're ready, and start to roll your spine up to stand. You can even walk the hands up the legs. Inch by inch, rolling up, coming up to stand, rolling the shoulders back when you arrive, letting the palms face outward. Mountain pose. Just feeling your feet and toes spread really wide. Letting your collarbones be broad, feeling yourself rooted down and lifted up at the same time. Readjusting. Awesome. So we will start to flow when you're ready. As you're ready, inhale, reach the arms out and up, get even longer, maybe a slight back bend, opening the heart. And then exhale, hinge at your hips with that straight spine, dive forward, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, lengthen the spine, lift out of the hips. Exhale, fold, release. Plant the hands down. Step both feet back to a plank position, and we'll hold this for 3 breaths, feeling the heels reach back, crown of the head and heart reach forward. Lower belly pulling in and up. Then you can always bring the knees down if you need to, just bending the elbows alongside the ribs, either lowering yourself all the way down to the mat or halfway, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale to your baby cobra or your up dog. And exhale to lift the hips to your downward facing dog. 3 big exhales. Letting it go. Flushing out your system here. When you're ready, bend the knees, look up and step up. Halfway lift as you inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, root down to rise on up, reach the arms out and up, maybe that slight back bend. Exhale, hands to heart center. One more, just like that. When you're ready, inhale to reach. Exhale to hinge and fold. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Let the hands step back to plank as you inhale. And exhale, lower halfway or all the way. Inhale to your back bend. And exhale to your down dog. Big exhales. Awesome. When you're ready, you can inhale your right leg back and up. Then exhale to pull the knee in toward the chest, rise onto your left tippy toes and shift your shoulders over wrists. Bring the foot to the top of the mat. You can always use your right hand to help it there. And step your back foot into warrior 1 legs. And when you're ready, we'll rise up warrior 1. So your back toes are facing the front left corner of the mat. Feet are in separate train tracks. And your feet feel like they're dragging away from each other as your inner thighs feel like they're pulling in and up toward each other. Feel your tailbone tucking down to increase the stretch on the left hip flexor. If there were headlights on your hips, they're going right forward. And breathe. Feel this front knee stay over the front ankle. Feel the power of this pose. You can play around with bringing your biceps in line with the ears, but then tucking your lower ribs back under. Feeling that change. Awesome. And then slowly reach into the ground with your front leg, straighten that out. Bring your hands to your hips. We'll inhale the heart toward the ceiling slightly. Exhale to hinge to your pyramid. And you can stop here with a flat back parallel to the floor if that feels good. You can bring the hands to frame the front foot for that extra support. And option 2, also release the head toward the shin. But wherever you are, just feeling the space between the right heel and the right hip. Breathe into your hamstring here. Awesome. So now from here, what we're going to do is bring both of your hands to the inside of your right foot, toward the left side of your mat, and just start to walk your hands in like a half circle all the way to the left so that they come in between the feet, and pivot on your feet so that you're in a wide leg forward fold. Beautiful. You can adjust your toes so that they're in line with each other. And put a slight bend in your knees. So this is just like our regular forward fold with our feet just a bit wider. breathing into the hamstrings, to the backs of the inner thighs. Let go of the head, let go of the face, soften the jaw, soften the shoulders, and exhale. Awesome. So now we're just going to keep walking the hands over toward the left, and we're going to come to face the back of your mat and turn your toes to face the back of the mat, your left toes, and then your right toes to warrior one feet. So they're facing now the front right corner of your mat, and rise on up to your warrior one on the other side. So you can, same thing here. Just feel like your feet are kind of reaching down into the mat and dragging away from each other as your inner thighs pull in and up toward each other. And you can also feel that sensation like you're zipping up a tight pair of jeans. So your pubic bone and your two hip bone points are coming toward each other. The tailbone's tucking down, biceps trying to be in line with the ears, but still tucking in the bottom of the ribs. There's a lot to focus on here. Releasing your jaw and breathing as you do so. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, you can slowly start to reach into the ground with your left foot, straightening out that leg. Hands come to the hips, and inhale, lift the heart. Exhale, hinge to your pyramid on the other side. So you can do whatever you did on the other side. You can stay with the hands on hips and the spine parallel to the floor. You can bring them to frame the foot at any point and release the head if you did that on the other side. Just breathing deeply, big exhales. Awesome. Okay, and then from here, you're just going to walk your hands back the direction we came. So over to your right now, coming to the center. And this time when you get into the center, turn your toes to face away from each other so they're facing the opposite corners of the mat and heels are turned slightly in. And then start to bend your knees and let your tailbone be drawn toward the ground as you let the crown of your head be drawn up toward the ceiling, coming into a goddess squat. Yeah. So you can bring your hands to prayer here and just for a few breaths. And then we're going to do a nice shoulder stretch. You can bring your hands to the inner thighs. And as you exhale, dip your right shoulder down and look over your left. Inhale to center. Exhale, dip the left shoulder down, look over the right. You can do that a few times. Maybe twice more on either side. Breathing into the hips as you do this too, letting your feet be a strong foundation. Awesome. Starting to get into the hips. So when you're ready, you can come back to center, reach into the ground with the feet, straighten out the legs, and just turn your right toes to fully face the front and step your back foot up to your mountain. Inhale to lift the arms. Exhale to hinge and fold. Let it go. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, let it go. Plant the hands and step back to your plank. Move through your vinyasa and we'll meet in down dog. Letting it go here. Going to get into the hips this time around. So when you're ready, you can lift your left leg back and up this time. And exhale, pull the knee into the chest, come onto your right tippy toes, shift the shoulders over wrist, and this time place the foot on outside of your left hand. So right along the left edge of the mat. You can adjust your stance here, so you want your hips to kind of sink down. And your right heel's reaching back. So we're in this like lifted lizard pose. Be strong on your hands here, and you can try to let your heart start to come forward. And if this feels good, if you want like a more strong pose, you can keep your back leg lifted like this. But if you want to be more passive and get deeper into the hip, then you can let your back knee come down. You can untuck the toes even and breathe. Gradually, if you feel ready to do so at any point, you can start to come onto the forearms, onto the block, or onto the floor. But just unfolding as your body's ready. I'm going to be here for, you can count 7 more exhales. Really slow, long, deep breaths. Relaxing the jaw and the forehead. For the last 3 breaths, if you'd like to add a little twist to it, you can start to roll to the outside edge of your left foot and bring your left hand to the inner left thigh and kind of look over your shoulder here. Even try to push the thigh away from your heart. It can feel really nice. Just listening to your body, going to your limit. Great, last exhale. Start to unwind if you were twisted at all. Bring your hands back to the mat. Just start to shift your weight into your right knee or your back of your right leg. And just lift your sit bones back and up. Just start to straighten out your left leg. Heel toe it 1 time to be in line with your hip. And you're just going to fold for 3 breaths to stretch out the left hamstring. And you can keep your spine pretty straight here if that feels good, and lift out of the hips and hinge, heart lifting or reaching toward the toes. Great. And then you're just going to heel toe it probably twice more so that your left foot comes to the right side of the mat, and we're going to come into our pigeon pose. So you can bring the hands forward, start to bend your left knee, bringing that to the mat. And just take a peek back so that your right foot stays in line with the right hip. Nice. And then you can stay lifted for as long as you'd like if this feels good, and gradually start to walk your hands forward so that you keep your spine long, and then down to the mat. You can stay on the forearms, you can stay on the hands, you can bring the head down and to the hands or to blocks, and just breathe. Notice the areas of resistance in the hips, in your left hip. And notice how there's a tendency to probably want to distract yourself from the sensations in your left hip. And use that as a cue to challenge that and to instead tune in fully to the discomfort of your left hip, or wherever you are feeling this the strongest, maybe in the glute. Wherever it happens to be concentrated in your body. Again, if there's ever a point of pain, then ease off. But if this is discomfort and feels just like a deep stretch, send your breath there. So take your exhales as you focus on those uncomfortable sensations, knowing that this is temporary. We will be in the next pose before you know it. You will be done with this class before you know it. So just letting yourself be fully in this pose and let yourself release for the next 3 exhales. See how much you can let go. Relax your shoulders, your jaw, your forehead, your feet. And then really gently, as you're ready, you can start to come on to your forearms, come on to the hands. Just going to tuck your back toes under and scooch your knee up a bit. And then gradually, really slowly, bring your left leg back. You can stay in a tabletop and just kind of shake out your leg, or go into down dog and shake out your left leg. But we're in our down dog when you're ready. And we're going to do all that on the other side. So as you're ready, you can step your right foot outside of the right hand on the right edge of the mat. And we'll come into that lizard pose. So come into this the same way we did on the other side. So gradually, you can stay lifted in the back leg for a bit. Find that right footing, that right distance between the feet. You can let your back knee drop down as you feel ready. You can gradually just unfold as your body starts to open up. Coming onto the forearms when you're ready. And no need to even come onto the forearms. You can stay at your edge. So really in all these deeper stretching poses that we do, what we want to do is come to where our body naturally stops us, to your limit, and find your breath and find some peace there. Find some stillness and let yourself release, let yourself unfold. And you'll find over time, your limit will gradually expand. You can gradually come a little deeper. If you did that twist on the other side, you can do this here, rolling onto the outside edge of your right foot. Bring the right hand to the inner thigh, pressing the thigh away from the heart. Maybe looking over the shoulder. Breathing. Awesome. One more big exhale. And then when you're ready, coming onto the hands really slowly. You can start to shift your weight to the back leg and lift the hips back and up to straighten out the right leg. And just heel toe that one time so the foot is in line with the hip, and fold over the right hamstring for 3 breaths. So then you can heel toe it about twice more so it comes all the way to the left edge of the mat, and place the hands toward the top of the mat and put a bend in your right knee coming into our pigeon pose. And then just taking a peek at your left foot, keep that in line with the hip, and start to unfold into this, your full expression of this pigeon pose as you are ready. Keeping some length in the spine as you do so. Just noticing the difference of this side to your last. Honoring where you are on this side. Coming to this side's limit and breathing there. And bringing all of your awareness to wherever you are feeling this the loudest. And using your breath as a tool to let you find a bit of acceptance in this pose. Soften your hips even more. And fully surrender your body, your muscles and bones to this position and to gravity. Using this as a challenge to see how soft you can get. How much of this pose can you accept? Taking about 3 more really deep, full exhales here. And then very, very slowly, you start to come onto the forearms, come onto the hands. taking your time. And you can tuck your back toe under and shake out your back leg. Awesome. And then when you're ready, you can gradually let your knees find the mat. And we're going to come into our child's pose. So you can let the feet come together and the knees come together if you want to focus more on the stretching the spine. Or if you want to focus more on the hips still, you can bring the toes together and knees as wide as your mat. You can let the arms reach forward and long. You can let them stack under your head. Let them come back behind you, whatever feels right to you in this moment. But just scanning your body and finding any areas that are still holding on, any areas where there might still be some resistance. And just with your awareness and with your exhales, you can let these go. Just a little bit more, maybe not fully even, but just letting it go 1% more. And when you are ready to do so, again, you can always stay here longer if it feels good. So you can start to rise up to your seat on your heels, shift your weight to one side, and bring the legs out in front of you. Just shake out the legs and let's tap them down. And just some taps on your thighs, on your shins, on the feet, on the hips. Awesome. And you can bring the arms back behind you, so you're kind of leaning back, the toes or the fingers facing the front of the mat. And you can lift your heart up toward the ceiling and point your toes. So you just get a nice little back bend for a moment. And then bend your knees and bring the feet as wide as your mat and start to windshield wiper the knees back and forth to just massage your glutes a bit, release your hips, starting to wind down. Awesome. And then when you are ready, you can grab the backs of the thighs and just start to lower yourself down to lay on your back. When you arrive, you can let the knees hug in toward the chest if that feels good, and rock slowly side to side or take some circles with the knees. And you can do reclined windshield wipers too if that feels good. Just letting yourself adjust to your back. And we will finish this practice with some torso twists. So when you are ready, let the feet find the mat and just shift your hips over to the left. And maybe you extend your right leg straight and then cross your left leg over, or you can just let both legs come to the right. Just whatever version of a torso twist you'd like to take, feel free to do so. You can bring your gaze to look over your left shoulder. Just feel this wringing out of the spine and the organs. And let yourself surrender. When you're ready, you can bring your head to center and knees back to center, and shift your hips back to center. And moving to the other side. So shifting the hips off to the right, extending the left leg, crossing over the right, looking over the right shoulder. Softening your belly as you're here, softening both hips, softening both shoulders, the jaw, the forehead. Softening the hands, the feet. 2 more exhales. All right. And as you are ready, you can bring the head to center, the knees back to center, and shift your hips back to center. And you can go ahead and let both of your feet reach up toward the ceiling and just shake them out and then let them relax. And do the same thing with the arms. Reach them up and shake them out and then let them become still so that all four of your limbs are just resting in their sockets. You're feeling the blood rush away from the hands and feet, just giving them all their well-deserved break. Feeling all the blood rushing down the legs, down the arms, into your torso. And letting all your organs settle back into place. Letting the backside of the body be heavy. And just feeling all the poses we practiced today just soak into your body. All the healing benefits soaking into you. And whenever you are ready, you can come into your happy baby pose from here. You can reach for the outside edges of the feet or the thighs or the toes, and just let the hips open up toward the ceiling. Let the knees come toward the armpits, and you can stay still here, bringing the shoulders to the mat, or you could find some movement and take turns straightening each leg, straightening both legs maybe if that feels good. Just any final poses or movements you feel you need to take to make your practice feel complete. You can go ahead and do so. And whenever you feel ready, you can let the soles of the feet find each other and slowly lower the outside edges of the feet to the mat and land in your reclined butterfly pose. You can stay here for your whole Shavasana if you'd like, or you can straighten the legs out at any point and come into your final pose, your Shavasana. And just letting the toes fall toward the outsides of the mat, letting your palms face up and away from the body, letting the whole backside of your body be heavy and still into the mat. Fully releasing your head and feeling your brain rest toward the back of the skull. Letting the eyeballs rest into the skull, into their sockets. As you fully soften the jaw and the forehead, and turning your inner gaze to peer into the forehead. Maybe feeling the pulsing sensation in the forehead. Letting both hands feel like there's weights in the hands, and both feet, the wrists and the ankles, so that you are fully weighted down at the 5 points of your body, the head, both hands, and both feet. Feeling the rhythm of your own heartbeat. Feeling the rhythm of your heartbeat in the palms of the hands. feeling the heartbeat in the stomach, slowly softening the pelvic floor and the glutes, and feeling the heartbeat in the soles of the feet and the toes. And just letting yourself be exactly where you are. And letting yourself rest in silence for about another minute. It's total body awareness. If you would like to stay here longer, please allow yourself to do so. And if you're starting to feel ready to gradually make your way out of this final pose, you can follow my cues. And just start by noticing the breath once again and calling more air into the body. Intentionally taking deep breaths in to fill yourself from the toes to the fingers to the head. And letting that new air start some movement, some wiggling in the fingers and the toes, maybe shaking the head side to side. If you'd like to take a big morning stretch, you can reach the arms overhead and get really long. And then when you're ready, pull the knees in toward the chest and make your way to a fetal position on one side. Using your upper arm as a pillow. And just pausing here to honor this primal pose. And very slowly, as you're ready, you can press your top hand down toward the mat. Make your way up to a seated position to close this practice. We meet with our hands at heart center. And just take this moment to fully thank yourself for choosing to show up today, for taking the time out of your busy life for this pure act of self-love and self-care. May this act continue to heal you through the rest of your days and nights. May you bring the same love and understanding to everything that you do and to everyone that you see.